Hi, welcome back to Gibb's Adventures, and today you can ride along with me and see how I'm packing the trail near my house. It's kind of a double-edged sword. I try to keep the trail packed all the time so we can walk our dog, and a lot of my neighbors around me are always walking their dogs along the trail here. So this year, because the snow was so severe, I'm also trying to help the deer, and you'll see how I'm working at trying to supplement some food for the deer here because they're having a really hard time. It's about March 10th at the start of the video here, and the snow is over 4 feet deep and it's not melting. So we have a long ways to go yet till spring, and the deer can't handle the deep snow and they're really floundering and starving. So I'm helping them out. So watch what I do here today, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.
So I cut this cedar down the other day, and you can see the deer are really working it now. In a couple more days they'll have it completely stripped because that's a good winter food for them. So I picked some of the dirtier cedar that were bent and crooked, and I cut 3 or 4 of them down. We're down underneath the hemlock here, so it's not a lot of snow, so it's good for the deer. But cedar is a good winter food for them, and so I just topped them and knocked them down, and I'll let them clean them all up. I did like 3 or 4 of them, and like I said, they'll have that cleaned up in a week here. If they can't get the tops clean right off, I'll roll them over for them so they can get the whole thing. But if you want to help the deer right now, knock down a couple of cedar and keep the trails packed. You can see all the tracks here, so it's really important, especially this year with all the depth of the snow, and it just snowed again today. It's just crazy. It's almost the middle of March. It's the 10th of March today, and it's still going on. Morning, guys. How are you? Got your food for you. You ready for something to eat? Well, here we're getting trained, and they know the storm's coming, so they're hungry. What I've done today is I'm feeding them in a couple of different spots here. If I feed them all in one spot directly, they end up just fighting over it. So I spread it out a little bit, and then everybody gets a little bit. They're just out of sight around the trail here. See if I can get you to see them there. They're looking at me. If you look through the woods there, they're up the trail there. But there's 2 deer here today. But you got to be careful. If you start to feed them, you have to keep feeding them. Otherwise, you know, you've done something totally not correct. So trapping and caring about wildlife is not just about harvesting animals. It's about taking care of things when conditions get rough there. So I gotta make a little loop here. I'll move these guys along a little bit, but they'll be on this feed here in just a few minutes. So I'm gonna cut a few more cedar trees down today to help them out also. I cut this tree down a couple of days ago, and you can see how the deer have completely stripped it now. It's a cedar tree, and you can see all the tracks and activity that were here again this morning and last night. So we got a big storm coming. So there's a couple of more cedar. I'm going to drop a couple of more small ones. I try to take down the snaggy looking cedar that are bent and twisted and leave the really nice ones. I don't really want to cut every cedar tree down here in the swamp, but I'm just trying to give the deer a boost. I've been supplementing them. I've been giving them a little bit of corn and oats, and I don't want to overdo it. So I feed them every 2nd or 3rd day with the corn and the oats, and every time I see that they've stripped a tree down to nothing like this, I knock down another one. So really important, if you're going to help them, you can't do this half-assed. You have to help them until everything melts and they can be on their own again. So probably I got about a month of trying to help them out here. But trappers care about wildlife, and I just wanted to give you guys a little example. I'm sure I'm not the only guy out here doing this in different areas of Ontario, and the other thing we try to do is we make other trails for them. So I'll pack this trail down again today, but I made this trail the other day, and you can see how much they're using it now. So it just gives them a little bit of help when they really desperately need it. So cedar trees are the ticket. There you go. Okay, so you can see now I just cut down a little cedar tree and threw it down, and I'll show you this tree in a couple of days. It'll be stripped right down to nothing. It's amazing how much and how quickly they'll eat all of this stuff up. So just a tip, it's cedar trees that they're really after. And I just, you know, I'm not clear cutting anything. I'm just cutting down a few trees to help them out here. I guess I should explain a little bit what I'm doing here. I just cut down another cedar tree here. Everything is up there. Okay, when you look up, there's lots of food, but at deer height, there's nothing for them to eat. They've over the years have probably overbrowsed it and caused a little bit of habitat degeneration by not or degradation by not you know, staying on the cedar trees. There's no little cedar trees, there's only big ones. So, you know, in a way, I'm probably cheating them a little bit by not letting them starve to death, but I do like deer meat, so I guess I have a global self-interest here. I think, not that I'm much of a deer hunter, honestly, but I think it's important sometimes just to help out a little bit. So anyways, here we are. We're in a spot where there's lots of hemlocks, so there's not a lot of snow compared to the open areas and the hardwoods, but this is where the cedar is. So anyways, I cut down a couple more trees today, and like I said, nothing at deer level on the ground. It's all up there. So like I said, I'm just picking twisted, bent, ugly looking trees, cutting them down, and then it actually improves the stand if you were looking to harvest wood here, but it's just optics, I guess. But I cut down what we call wolf trees, ones that are snarly, so it helps the deer and improves the stand of wood here in the bush here. Here's an interesting one. Remember how I say about the height from the ground? So they've been able to strip everything there, but because it's too high, they can't get at it. So I'll cut that tree again there and drop it down so they can get the rest of that cedar down. But they packed it down pretty tight trying to get at it. So they just need a little more help here, and I'll fix them up. I'll cut it and they'll be able to finish off that tree. So 2 days ago I cut this cedar down and topped it. I put most of it there and I put the top on this side. You can look over there. And you can see it's completely stripped. There's very little green stuff left, and that's because the deer have been all over. And if you look at the tracks, they've got it totally packed down in here. So it's good. They're feeding pretty heavy on it. I'm still supplementing them a little bit with corn and oats, but not. I don't want to overwhelm them. But you can see how quickly they will consume the cedar. And like I said, at the deer height, there's no food for them. Everything's up high in the trees. Like there's a good cedar right beside us here, and they can't reach that, so they can't get at the food. But they're under the big tamaracks because there's less snow here. It's a better place for them. They can get around a bit. And so every so often I knock down a cedar tree to help them out there once they clean it up. So tomorrow I'll come back and probably cut down another cedar or two in here just to help them out. Okay. The reason I kind of do that is just to make it hard so the oats and the corn don't get buried in the snow and then the deer can't get them. Like I said, I always spread it out in a few different places because if there's a dominant deer, he won't let the little ones eat. So if I spread it out a little bit, then everybody gets a little snack, carries on. So I cut this one too 2 days ago, and all that's left is a couple of branches on the top that they're having a hard time to reach. So I'll break it down for them. But it's pretty amazing when you think this thing was like totally green, and now it's basically stripped in basically 2 nights. So it's good that they're getting them some natural food and supplementing a little bit with the other stuff. But again, it's important. If you start doing this, you got to keep doing it until they can fend for themselves, and that's probably at least a few more weeks, maybe a month yet. So I'll probably go through 4 or 5 bags of corn and oats there. So I'm gonna blow my budget.
I feed the deer in the bush so they are not a hazard for drivers on the road, and it's also safer for the deer to feed away from people and vehicles. So there you have it, my routine for feeding the deer. There's Oscar and Deb. We're just about to take our daily walk on the trail. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.